Okay,
You're
continue.
doing good. Okay, so it says that the buyer will work exclusively with the broker for the purchase of this property. Any of you brokers?
Yeah.
You are
Broker
not.
associate.
Broker associate and
That's
broker
not-
are not the same thing.
Not the same. Okay.
Not the same thing. All of your clients are owned by the broker. They are not owned by you. If you were to get up and leave and go to another agency, technically, your clients stay with the broker. Unless you re-sign agency with them, unless you get okay from David that you're taking them with you, all buyers and listings are the property of the brokerage, of the broker himself, not of the broker associates. So you may have some astute buyers say, well, I don't work with the broker, I'm working with, you're the broker? When did that happen? You got a pay raise and you're the fancy big person. No, you're not. So that's what that means. Again, very few people are gonna ask you this, but when they do, you need to know the answer. Okay, we're gonna provide the broker with accurate and relevant personal financial information to determine the buyer's ability to purchase a property. What does that mean for the Christians team? And probably Donner team too.
Prequel.
Prequel. We do not show houses until we have a pre-approval letter from a bank. If they can prove that they have the money to buy a house, we will show them houses all day long. If they cannot prove to us that they are working actively to get a loan and they are pre-approved for $1 million house, we are not going to show them $1 million houses. Especially in the price range, $500,000 to $1 million, a lot of sellers will not let you show a house to someone who is not already pre-approved. And they want to see that pre-approval before you even show them the house.
Really?
It's not a, well, when we get to the purchase agreement part of it, there are some, when you get in the higher prices, the luxury listings, they won't even let you in the door unless you can provide that pre-approval letter first. But it is also a way for you not to waste your time. Okay, let's say somebody comes along and they think they can afford to buy a $300,000 house. I would like to believe that everybody could buy a $300,000 house. A lot of people would like to imagine that they could buy a $300,000 house. You start showing them $300,000 houses. You get to the point where you've shown them everything, they've found something, they love it. This is the house of their dreams. You go, you write the purchase agreement, okay, it says on the purchase agreement that we've got to have the pre-approval by a certain date. We put in there, you know what, we're going to have a pre-approval, you guys haven't been to the bank yet, so you really need to get in there. We'll have it in 4 days, we'll have the pre-approval. You're never going to have it in 4 days, just so you know. We're going to say we're going to have it in 4 days. They go to the bank, and the bank says, there is no way that these guys are going to qualify for more than 150. Now you start showing them houses at 150. There is no house, I guarantee you, they are never going to find a house that they are happy with. They may find a house that they will settle for, but they will never find a house that they fall in love with like they did that $300,000 house, because nothing will ever look as good again.
And that's your fault.
Exactly. Whereas if you had just started showing them $150,000 houses, they would have found something that they fell in love with at $150,000, and they could have bought it. Everybody would have been happy. Please, don't waste your time. Don't waste their time until you sent them to get a pre-approval. It's in everyone's best interest. Okay, so compensate the broker is outlined in paragraph 2 if the buyer purchases property or defaults on an agreement to purchase during the period of this contract. This is very rare, but state law requires that if you bring a willing, able-bodied buyer to a house and everything goes through and they decide the day before closing they have buyer's anxiety or buyer's remorse already and they decide we're going to back out, technically they could owe a commission to both parties. They also they absolutely will lose the earnest money to the sellers, but they legally could owe you and the listing agent a commission for the work that you've done. That being said, I don't know too many agents that would actually require that of someone, and there aren't too many deals that actually get down to that far where people just fall apart and it happens, but legally, according to state law, they could. Okay, compensate the broker as outlined in paragraph 2 if the buyer purchases a property. Again, we've got our 180-day clause. One more time. You decide to screw us, you gotta pay us. Okay, pay a transaction fee. Our transaction fee went up. We are at $175 now. If you do not get, your buyers don't have to pay this. If your buyers don't pay it, you will. So make sure you get something out of them. Now, how do we explain this $175? First of all, I don't make it a big deal. If you don't make it a big deal, they won't make it a big deal. If you go in and say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, we've got this $175 transaction fee, I don't know what the heck it's for, and I'm so sorry, we're adding more to your plate where you're gonna have to pay for it. Yeah, it's gonna be a big deal to them. If you go in and you're just going through the list of things, it's just a fee. They're gonna pay a lot of fees. This fee, so you all know, goes to pay the market center to do all of your paperwork. Mm-hmm. So it gets done. So the $175, yes. If you don't get, and you can be a big guy and circle it and say, you know what, I'm gonna pay that for you. If they're $1 million buyer, I'd circle that puppy and say, I'm gonna pay that for you so you look like a big shot, because it does make you look really good. Yeah. A lot of times it even helps just to cut it in half. If you've actually got somebody who is just dying and they absolutely will not pay $175 transaction fee, you know what, you can circle it and say, you know what, I'll pay half of it if you'll pay half of it.
Do you have them initial off to the side then?
They're going to sign down here everything that's on here, and when I'm doing this in person, I actually circle this while I'm going through it, so that they can't come back and say, well, you never told me about that. If I've got it circled there, we went over it. They usually remember it. Once I show it to them again, yeah.
But if you're going to split it or cover it?
If you're going to split it or cover it, I would circle it and cross it out.
Okay.
They're going to sign the bottom of this though, usually, and we've even done it after the fact when they have blown a gasket and didn't want to pay it after the fact. We've done it after the fact. But the big part on this one is VA closing, FHA, South Dakota Housing, and Rural Development loan fee. Some of them will not allow, depending on the bank, never, a VA loan will never allow a buyer to pay a transaction fee, period. So you need to know that up front. If you already know, they've come, they've given me their pre-approval letter, it says they're using their VA benefits, they will not be able to pay this. The government will not allow them to pay this. You're stuck paying it. It is what it is. These other ones though, the FHA, South Dakota Housing, it depends on the bank that they're using. Some banks, all the banks that Christian's team uses, I haven't got anybody that won't fit it into their loan somewhere. So it can be paid, but the VA, absolutely not. You can do on the backside, and that's why they've done this extra. Loan is paid in the form of a personal check or cash to Keller Williams. In that case, they actually have to come with a check to closing written to Keller Williams for $175 or whatever your transaction fee is. Our transaction fee is different. I know Dorsey's is different.
You have to bring a different check? Because that was just figured into our closing.
If their loan will not allow them to do it. If they're doing a VA loan and they're okay paying it, I mean, and you're making them pay it, you don't want to pay it, they just have to bring a personal check. It can't be wrapped up in their loan. Okay, so the description of property desired. Type of property. We only want to see ranches. We're going to buy a ranch style house. That's what we're going to buy. We're going to buy a ranch style house. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it in Spearfish. Okay, our price range, $150,000. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do a ranch style house in Spearfish for $150,000. That's what I want you to write in there. That's what we're going to buy. That's not what we're going to put in there. That's never what we're going to put in there. Because if you put that in there, that is all you can show them.
Are you doing paperwork all the time?
All the time. Because then they're going to say, you know what? Oh, Spearfish. You can't find anything for Spearfish for $150,000. Let's trailer house.
Over there,
yeah, that's not going to work. So what I usually do, and that's in your packets.
I wonder what we put in there when we did that originally.
I was going to say, you and people will, and it depends on the agent. I know when I started, Renee had us, and I mean, it didn't used to be a big deal, then it became a big deal, that you put in the type of property, you put in the general location, and we put in Northern Hills. what happens if we show in Rapid City and we sell them something in Rapid City? That's not the Northern Hills. What if we show them something in Custer and they buy in Custer? That's not the Northern Hills. So we changed this. We're going to show them anything the buyer wants to see. We're going to show them anything in the state of South Dakota. I am not going to show them anything in the state of South Dakota. We are not going to show them anything in the state of South Dakota. We will refer them to East River. We will find them a good agent over there, but we're not going to let them know that. We can sell them anything. We are licensed in the state of South Dakota, so we're going to be able to show them anything in the state of South Dakota. That being said, a smart agent is not going to drive to Sioux Falls to sell them a house. You're going to find them a good agent in Sioux Falls and make 25% referral fee. So they can get a house over there and you don't have to drive.
I had a question.
Mhm.
So when we were in Ignite, and I don't know if you were there for that or not, Rena, but what's his name? Scott, whose wife Carol teaches the class.
Mhm.
He was saying that, and I didn't say anything, but he was like, as specific as you can be. And I think I told you, I was like, well, we do,
Yeah.
all state of South Dakota. So what's the,
I think it depends on the person.
because they were
The-
like,
the
it's
agent-
absolutely specific,
Yeah.
it can only be
And I
one
had
thing.
Carol. Carol was my teacher too,
Okay,
and I
so-
got it. And we were very specific. And then I took a class under Carol Bedorna, I think was the one who came and did the class. And she's the one who said, no, if you're going to be redoing your paperwork
Okay,
every
so
time you do
it's
this.
fine.
So I don't know. It's up to you.
Okay, or what did he say? He was like,
Keller
what
Williams.
happens if he made some comment, and it was a valid comment.
There's
But
a
I was
valid
just like,
side of
I
both
guess
sides,
they could
Say you
probably.
didn't, like this house on the market, you didn't show me.
Yes,
You didn't
that
tell
was
me.
it was.
Like,
Well,
there
and
was
then,
a-
then he also did say that he's not a member of both MLSs, so that's where he could get in trouble. So that's fine because we are, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I think there's good points and there's bad points to both of them.
Mhm.
I'm going to be doing a lot less paperwork this
Yeah.
way. And it says that anything that they would like to see. It's not saying that I'm the one who's going out and making sure that all of the FSBOs that meet their requirements are in front of them.
Right. Okay.
It says that they hold some responsibility in this. So I think that might cover it a little bit, but if you have more questions, I talked to David about it. I know our market center allows us to do this,
Okay.
so. Okay, and then our price range. They're gonna come in and they're gonna wanna do paperwork and they're gonna wanna buy a $300,000 house and you don't have the letter yet? If you don't have the letter yet, I would call their bank and say, okay, I've got these people, they're coming in, they wanna look at $300,000 houses. Is that even close? Get something from the bank to say, but that's why this is very specific. We are only going to show them things they're pre-approved for.
What if you're signing before they went to the bank? Like I'm meeting with someone tomorrow.
Right?
To tell her she needs to do that 'cause she doesn't even
Right.
know that part. So then what do you put?
You're okay here, just putting in that you're gonna do what's pre-approved before you start showing our houses. I'd at least call the bank and see where they're at in the process.
Before you start showing, but
Yeah, and
never
they
know.
should know if they've started the process with the bank, they'll be able to tell you a huge range. I mean, like you can show up to 200 probably, just based on knowing what they're making.
Mhm.
They should have a good idea of a range.
Yeah.
That's a
And
reasonable
we've
range.
talked about it. I've
You-
called to get
yeah.
prices for her and stuff, but what if you have a cash buyer?
Cash buyer,
Because they're not pre-approved.
no, but they need to be able to show that they have the ability to buy.
The funds,
Yes,
verification of funds.
and on your purchase agreement,
So that line kind of covers both.
Yeah.
anyway. So
on your
pre-approved
purchase
part.
agreement, you've got the cash, but instead of having the pre-approval date there, you've got a proof of funds date that you've got to show it. So just because you're cash doesn't mean
Yeah.
you don't have
So-
responsibility to show that you can buy.
Right.
Okay, then our dates. Our dates begin and end. We do a 6-month date on here, so it's pretty easy. Don't forget to put in your times on the end. Otherwise, the Market Center compliance will catch you on that. Make sure that they sign dates and put in their address, because you are going to need the address when I need the address when I go to do their deeds. Okay, any questions about this form? Oh, this one too, and actually we just did this one-on-one. We had a couple who are from Bismarck, they're selling their house in Bismarck. They had it listed in Bismarck, and listed in Bismarck, and listed in Bismarck. And we signed their agency like in January of last year. So we go 6 months. It was done, and like, I think we extended theirs a little bit longer because it was a big house. But it was up in like August last year. Their house is up. It's finally under contract in Bismarck. She called up. I'm ready to look at houses. I don't want to have to do all this paperwork again. So all I have to do is come down here and do an extension. We're going to extend it another 6 months. Hopefully we won't need it that long, but you just extend it instead of having to redo all the paperwork. Any questions about this one?
So this contract's only good for 6 months?
It's good for however long you put on that date. However, a contract in the state of South Dakota is only good for 12 months. So 12 months is up, you gotta renew. Okay, the last one we gotta do is the agency agreement addendum. This agency agreement addendum, I'm actually gonna show you mine because it's got stuff crossed out. And you guys can make templates too. You can make personal templates. These are all my personal templates over here. You can make your own so that they say what you want them to say. Okay, and then you can drag and drop this over the top so that compliance isn't freaked out because it's not named the same as what they are used to seeing. Folks, I don't have a name. Okay, so mine are already filled in. I just make it so my agents have to put in a date. We're gonna put a date in here. We're gonna put the buyers' names in here. It already marked that we're gonna do buyers. It's already marked that we don't do appointed agency. This goes over what your broker responsibilities are. And again, you've got 3 responsibilities: single, limited, consent to agreement. Seller, landlord elects to negotiate with a buyer that is a client of the broker, or buyer elects to negotiate with a seller that is client of the broker. Read this stuff. Make sure you understand it before you're sitting with the client and they say, what the heck does that mean? Agent's obligations. We can't discriminate. Shocking. Okay, and then this one, we're saying they understand that we don't do appointed agency. We don't even offer it, so it's not a yes or no, it's not available. That's why we do it over here. And then I agree to limited agency. Again, they're asking to make sure, you're asking again to make sure they understand. You're okay with this, you understand what this means. I can show you Keller Williams houses. You're okay with this, you understand what this means. We're gonna have them both sign it, and Tim gets to sign it, and you get to sign it, and that's it. Any questions about this one? It's 3 documents that say a lot of the very same stuff. You're going over again and again, but it's government paperwork, which makes you do things hundreds of times for the exact same information. All right, the last one is the consumer buying guide. That's this one here.
They don't put those in that little booklet form anymore, huh? I've
They
never-
do, you gotta buy them.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, they used to give them away. Now you gotta buy them. So, and the lead-based paint too is you gotta buy it too. The consumer guide though, we send to, and it's actually Alex has it in here, so you can send it to everybody. But and it's just to all of you gotta do is share it, and it's just a share to view. It's not a share to. There's nothing to sign, and I tell them that when I send them this. There's a spot to do the little note here. I tell them, we're required by law to give this to you. If you want to read it, read it. If you don't, you don't, but I'm required to provide you with the information. Plus, you have an electronic note that you did your job. It's not your fault if they didn't read it. You sent it, they received it, and it's all kept in that loop. All right, any questions about agency buyer, agency docs?
And along with the consumer guide, like, well, just the few that I brought with, but I usually have it and I say, I can just send this to you
Yes,
through email. And they're like,
that's
absolutely.
the easiest way to do
Because then
it.
they've got all this other stuff and they don't want to be responsible.
Yeah.
And,
And you can print these. I mean, it doesn't cost anything for black and white. They're like 80 pages long, but do it front and back and take it along. And like she said, okay, I've got these 2. I'm required, but it's probably easier to email it and then just email it or send it from here. So, any other questions? I think
Yeah.
so. Okay.
That was good to
usually
know.